So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Namaste and a very warm welcome to all of you to the World Teen Parliament's 35th Parliamentary session. Last 3 years at the World Teen Parliament, we tried to do a simple initiative where every year we try to find out the 100 most amazing teenagers from across the world who have ideas on world improvement and whom people vote for. And based on the kind of votes that they get, these children get elected to the teen parliament as members of parliament for a duration of 1 year, where we give them opportunities to interact with global leaders, understand how democracy works, understand how policy making works, understand what are the kind of challenges that actual members of parliament face, and try to fit in and try to see where does the role of a teenager come in when we talk of running governments or running countries. So today as well, when we start this 35th parliamentary session, we have another amazing guest with us who will be sharing their experiences in their countries, that how has democracy helped them in their political career, how has it helped their country in growing, in growth and kind of supporting their citizens, and specifically what kind of initiatives are they doing in their country for teenagers. Before I invite the guest, a very warm welcome to everyone who's here on this call, all the teen MPs and influencers of the World Teen Parliament, and to our guest for today as well, a very warm welcome, sir. Before we start the session, a quick information for everyone. The registrations for the 4th World Teen Parliament have already started. So if you are a teenager anywhere on the face of this earth, make sure that you submit your ideas to the World Teen Parliament and hope that people vote for you and you come in the top 100 teenagers from across the world to become the members of parliament. So very warm welcome to everyone once again. Let's start the 35th parliamentary session by listening to the welcome note or the initiation note from our guest for today. A very warm welcome to Honorable Alex Mattia Rogers, the Chairman of the Defence Committee of Sierra Leone House of Parliament, Freetown, Sierra Leone. A very warm welcome to Mr. Alex. Alex, over to you for the opening address and initiating the 35th parliamentary session of the World Teen Parliament. Please unmute yourself and please start the session.
Good afternoon to you all. And my name is Honorable Alex Mattia Rogers, and I'm a member of Parliament in the Sierra Leone House of Parliament, representing the Pujaong district. Pujaong district is in the southern part of Sierra Leone. Then at Parliament also, I happen to serve as the chairman on defense and national security. And it's a pleasure really to be part of this forum, and particularly that which relates to child rights, that has to do with the rights of children. And so I'm highly delighted to be called upon and at least to give few statements on such a very important occasion. And I will be in for any questionings. I'll be ready to answer a few questions that you pose to me. And it's about experience sharing. Of course, in Sierra Leone here, we have the Child Right Coalition, and it is that coalition that always advocates for the right of children in this country. And it is through the Child Right Coalition also that they've committed a bill which we call the right of a child. And we are now scrutinizing that particular bill, and very soon we'll enact it into law, we'll pass it into law. And it's all in line with the UN Convention on the Right of the Child. You know, the United Nations Convention on the Right of the Child is an international human rights treaty which set out the civil, political, economic, social, and health, and of course, cultural rights of children. So it is within that ambit that bill, which we are about to enact to pass into law in this country, we capture the right of children in this country, i.e., the right to live, the right to protection, protection from harm. Children have the right to be free from abuse, harmful work, drugs, and even social abuse, and of course, human trafficking and corporal punishment. Human trafficking has become very rampant in the African continent. So I be no exception. And this particular bill, we advocate for the total elimination of that kind of harmful practice. So with these few remarks, I'm delighted, very much grateful to be with you, and I will be in to answer to few questions that you will raise, and I hope I will do justice to some of your concerns. I thank you all.
Thank you so much, Mr. Alex, for this initiation of the 35th Parliamentary session. Before we go into the questions of the teenagers, before these sessions, we normally open up a link where teenagers can submit their questions. So let me ask some of the questions which we feel that are super interesting, but the teenagers would not be here in the session because this session is only for the MPs. But yes, anyone from anywhere can submit the questions. So let me ask some of those questions to you first. One of those questions is that it's very difficult for any country to establish democracy where it has not been there organically or where it has not been there. And we have seen a lot of conflict happening in a lot of African countries when elections happen. If the people do not like the results of the election, then there's a lot of agitation happening. So what do you think typically should be done so that people really trust in the process of voting? And these kind of disturbances that we see post-election results can be minimized.
In the first place, let me just establish one premise. Children that has not attained the age of 18 in Sierra Leone, as per our constitution, are not eligible to vote. We don't allow children below 18 years to vote. So children below the age of 18 years are exempted from voting. But with regards to the practice of democracy in our country, as a case study, we enjoy a tremendous democratic values in this country, in the sense that we have different political parties. It's only one party state, and that is the tenet of democracy, political pluralism. We have a pluralist state in our country, wherein there are other political parties that compete, you understand, and to the seat of power, and even in the House of Representative Parliament, and also to become a president of a country. So normally, after elections, as it is the case in most African countries, our people always have issues, post-election problems. Post-election problems always bounce up. And we are now suffering, we are now struggling with that kind of thing. For the opposition to accept the outcome of the result, they will always say the election was not contested, free and fair. But we have international observers during every electoral process. You will agree with me. The UN, the EU serve as the international observers, including the ECOWAS state, and even the African Union. You see, they all constitute the international electoral observer team, and they declare the election being valid, free, and fair. That brought into power the former president. That brought into power the current president, who is the retired Brigadier Julius Maada Bio. This is his second term. He's not going in for his second term of office. You understand? But the opposition, I'm talking about the major opposition party, that is the All People Congress Party, they challenge the result of the election. That's what I'm saying. I say it's very typical in African countries. Opposition hardly accept defeat. But in our case, our election was conducted free and fair. And they declare the president, who is now in power, enjoying his second term of office. I'm talking about the retired brigadier. He was Maada Bio. This is his second term of office. And the only institution that has the right to declare election result here is the Electoral Commission. It's really Electoral Commission. And they declare him as a winner. So that is it in short. And we are now enjoying that, we are still trying to have some sort of reconciliation processes or meetings with the opposition. But for now, there is a reality peace in our country as a result of the election, the outcome of the election, in short.
Absolutely. You're very right when you say that the opposition parties don't easily concede to a defeat. And they always say that the election could be rigged. And for that, you've taken steps by, involving international observers to see that whether we had fair and free elections.
Yes.
There's one more question that we want to put to you. In a lot
Okay.
of past parliamentary sessions, we have actually, heard it from a lot of MPs from different countries. We've also, seen the kind of data that has come out that most of the young people, especially the teenagers who are going to be the future voters, most of them across most of the countries don't believe that democracy works. So they don't even register themselves for voting. So, what is the case in your country, and what are the kind of initiatives that you're doing so that teenagers really believe that yes, democracy really works?
Yes. Well, what we do in our country, and we conduct civic education, and in all schools. So that's the kind of thing we embark on massive civic education. Civic education is the answer, the key to that concern that you have raised, in short.
Absolutely. So a lot of civic education initiatives is something that you're doing. So let's now start with the questions that come from the teenagers at the World Teen Parliament. So the first question from the teenagers comes from Nabiha Haneen. Nabiha, please unmute yourself, introduce yourself, and then ask your question to the Honorable Member of Parliament.
Greetings, everyone. This is Nabiha Haneen from Grade 9 MS Education Academy, Hyderabad, Telangana, India. My question is to Honorable Alex, sir. Sir, how does Sierra Leone collaborate with other West African nations on defense and counter-terrorism initiatives?
It is very simple. And in this country, under the security sector, there is an established institution we call the Office of National Security, the Office ONS, Office of National Security. And that Office of National Security is under the Office of the President. And within the Office of the National Security, there is a department responsible for counterterrorism. And quite recently, they have developed a counterterrorism bill that they are about to bring to Parliament, for ratification. And I being the chairman on defense and national security, and my team, we are in the readiness to support that particular bill. Now, relating to other African countries, say for example, like the Mano River Union, between the Mano River Union Basin, i.e. Liberia, our neighbor, and Guinea, we are in partnership, in collaboration, at least to mount a very massive anti-terrorism I don't know how to put it, you understand, a satellite, so that we don't tolerate that kind of activities within our region, the Mano River Union region. Even in the ECOWAS state, we have that understanding, that cooperation. So with that few remarks, I want to say that there is a maximum collaboration, regional collaboration, regional partnership with other African countries to fight out terrorism in our region.
Let me invite the next teenager for the question. The next question comes from Jude Joe. Jude, please introduce yourself and ask your question.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Jude Joe, a teen MP studying in class 10 at our own English High School, Sharjah. My question is, how can young people contribute to spreading awareness and countering extremism within their communities?
The role of teenagers in fighting against extremism is simple, and it is the more reason why we want to encourage having a parliament for children, for teenagers, wherein we advocate, we educate them, we make them to know their role in society, their role that relates to counterterrorism, fighting the counterterrorism. So there is a dire need for the involvement of teenagers at that level.
So the question that she had submitted, that what measures are being considered or currently taken by the government of Sierra Leone to protect the country from emerging threats like cybercrime, regional instability, and how are you involving youth into typically countering cybercrime, which becomes a national threat eventually. So for reducing cybercrime, what are the kind of steps that you're currently taking? And what kind of youth involvement are you, doing in that particular area?
Yes, to fight against cybercrime in our country, and we have institutions. There are established institutions. Even the ONS, the Office of National Security, and monitors the incidents of cybercrime, and also there are policies put in place, that fight against this cybercrime, and of course, when you are engaged in that, I must admit to you, like the Criminal Investigation Department, the CID, there is a desk, there is a bench at the CID, Criminal Investigation Department, that also go into those cyber crime activities. For example, if somebody malign you, misinformation, the issue of misinformation, those theft cases, using the cyber crime department, they always pursue and track them down. So there are developed policies put in place for that under the Office of the National Security. And just recently, this country has developed and launched a national security strategy policy. National security strategy policy. Very few African countries do have national security policy strategy, but Sierra Leone has got one. And within that particular framework, and there are chapters that are responsible for cybercrime elimination in our country.
So before we go to the next question, I have one question to introduce at this place to you, that in a lot of countries, and since you're the chairman on the Committee of Defense, in a lot of countries, when, where democracy is in its nascent stage, a lot of governments use national security as a reason to curb their opposition's freedom of speech, or not letting people speak anything and everything out in the open. So what are you, as an individual or as a part of the government, what specific steps have you taken so that people have more freedom of speech, like teenagers, the press, everyone? So what steps do you take as the chairman on the Committee of Defense?
You remember I told you earlier that in our country, we enjoy a high degree of political pluralism. We entertain the opposition. We don't intimidate at all. Not. There's no room for that. I hope you understand. And we don't, like the concern you are expressing, our country is free from that. Quite frankly, you can investigate behind me. They will tell you that in Sierra Leone, we are free from that. And in this case, like in our case in Sierra Leone, what they do, they organize teenagers and bring them to parliament and debate on some of those topical issues that you are talking about. And it is in that vein that I will encourage you also to allow me to be organizing our teenagers to bring them to parliament, bringing our people to parliament, so that we see our teenagers, you understand, acting, because they are not elected parliamentarians, of course, but parliamentarians, wherein they talk on those topical issues like cybercrime you are talking about, and what have you. I think that will help the situation greatly. Yeah.
I think I remember the conversation that we had. We'll be very happy to have teenagers from Sierra Leone also to be a part of the World Teen Parliament, to give them more opportunities to interact. And I think you're very right when you say that you're taking specific steps so that there is political pluralism. The reason we asked this question was to give the teenagers an understanding that people in power are very responsible, and how do they take care that everyone is able to speak. So this is the reason we asked this question, so that the teens here understand.
No, I see the direction you are coming from. I quite understand. It is in this way that I really want to urge you to ensure that you allow me to create a desk or a chapter in this country wherein we will have the world team, the Sierra Leone world team desk or branch in Sierra Leone. You can even do it at regional level to cover, say, for example, Liberia and Guinea. I can capture that. I can champion that. I will serve as a champion or the coordinator, You understand? Where we will be organizing our teenagers, bring them to parliament and see, because this is what is normally done. But in this case, now we will have it well organized. Topical issues that you and I will sit and agree on it, that will allow our teenagers to talk on and speak on. We hear the voices of our teenagers, their rights, their role in our society. That will help the situation a lot.
Absolutely, sir. We'll be very happy that, there is at least somebody who can be an ambassador of the World Teen Parliament in Sierra Leone and countries around that. Let's have the next question. The next question comes from Vinayak Gupta. Vinayak, over to you. Please introduce yourself and ask your question.
Good evening, sir. I am teen MP of Third World Teen Parliament, Vinayak Gupta, a 10th grader from Bamidele, Panchkula, Haryana, India. My question to you is, being chairman of the Defense Committee of Sierra Leone, what are your views in seeking ties with India on the perspective of defense?
Well, I think I must confess to you that you agree with me that we've been having African parliamentarians on defense committees, but India is not a member of that. Quite recently, we had a parliamentary session in the Côte d'Ivoire, and also in Washington somewhere in June, and we had parliamentarians on defense committee. We met in the War College in Washington, but in India, I think what we do, there is a room for us to collaborate, in short, with the India government, with the India Parliament or Assembly, particularly targeting the Committee on Defense of the India Parliament and that of Sierra Leone. If this World Parliament team will enable me to collaborate with the Parliament of India, I will highly appreciate that. To collaborate, to share experience, I will appreciate that. And one thing I must hasten to tell you, the Committee of Defense supervise or superintend over the foreign institutions, the Ministry of Defense, the Office of National Security, the Central Intelligence Agency, and the Arms and Ammunition. I want to believe that even in India, we do have those institutions. True or false?
Absolutely true, sir. Absolutely.
Then what you can do for me now, you can now at least collaborate or create the enabling environment that will have some partnership with the Indian government. I will appreciate that. If you can do that for us.
You have given a very good homework to Vinayak that, Vinayak, can you reach out to the Defense Ministry in India and talk to them and organize a meeting for Alex, sir, with the Defense Minister of India so that they can share at least their experience? Because you will be having the committee chairman of defense from Sierra Leone and you have to organize a session with the Defense Minister of India.
Fine, that will be fine. Let's have some exchange. Meeting. We can meet in India, New Delhi, or we can invite them to come over here. We appreciate that. A working relationship.
So now, Vinayak, you have an open invitation from the government of Sierra Leone to invite the Defense Minister of India through there. So what do you do with it is now important. Thank you so much, Alex, for the answer. I think the next question is something which is very interesting. This question is that as a politician in an African country, what are the most difficult parts of your job as an individual? As a politician, what is the most difficult part of your job?
Let me limit it to parliamentarian representing people. Like in my own case, I'm representing over 30,000 constituents. You know what that means? And representing those over 30,000 constituents from 4 political geographies, chiefdoms, you know what that means? 2 chiefdoms in the river line, there are 2 on the line. So much economic burden is being put on you. The expectation of our constituents being very unrealistic. They expect every little thing from you. They want you to take care of their children's welfare, even their medication when they get sick, because they always argue that they've been supporting you, now that you win. So they want you to take care of their welfare. You understand what I mean? So eyes are on you. Expectation of the public, of people, is too much on you. with your meager salary. So in short, and sometimes we are not capacitated. Like as parliamentarians, African parliamentarians, we are not well capacitated. I hope you understand what I mean. We do not even, in our case, you don't have office space. You don't have where you could run around to cover your political jurisdiction. But see, people look up to you. The resources are not available to take care of over 30,000 people. Like in my own constituency, it's a big challenge. I do not have the adequate resources to pilot in development projects, programs in my constituency. Now we are under the PL system, the proportional representative system. We no longer have constituency. District is not district, but the resources are not available to take care or to fund those quick win projects that I have identified. That during my campaign, I made series of promises. That's a big challenge. When you are campaigning, you need the vote of your people. You give them all promises. At the end of the day, you do not have the adequate resources to take care of them, of those projects. For example, they will look up to you to construct bridges, culverts in their villages. They look up to you to construct court barring where they have town hall meetings. They look up to you to construct mosques and churches. As the case may be, they look up to you to provide the women within the context of women empowerment, to give them microcredit facilities.
So I think you've shared a very important observation for teenagers here. The teens at the World Teen Parliament have interacted with so many MPs from so many variety of countries. You can see the kind of challenges that come in from different countries, the kind of issues that arise, what is the commonality, what are the kind of differences. So thank you, sir, for that answer. This gives a visualization to all the teens that how do countries really operate. The next question comes from Sushrita Chakraborty. Sushrita, over to you. Please introduce yourself and ask your question.
Thank you, sir. Greetings, sir. I am Sushrita Chakraborty from 12th grade from Douglas Memorial Higher Secondary School, Kolkata, West Bengal, India. So my question to you is that what steps are you taking to ensure that transparency is maintained and that youth voices are heard during policy making?
Yes, and the steps are very glaring with regards to capturing the voices of the youth within the development of policies in this country. Let me tell you one thing. In Sierra Leone, under this leadership, under the current leadership of the President Mattia, he gave premium to the youth. And even the composition of the cabinet ministerial position defined for the first time a good number of youth. Head in ministries, departments, and agencies under the youth scheme. And the policy is clear. And Parliament is very much supportive of that. Make no mistake about it. The current leadership, honestly speaking, so they enjoy enormous power, they enjoy enormous rights.
Thank you so much. So you answer the question. Now, since we are nearly at the end of the session, the final question comes in. So this final question is that if you had to give all the teenagers at the World Teen Parliament a challenge that they could solve for you, a challenge that could help you in your political and policy making work, what challenge would that be that you will give to all the teenagers at the World Teen Parliament? That complete this challenge, and this is the kind of reward that you'll give to them if they're able to complete that challenge for you.
The challenge in the first place is identification of the teenagers at various levels. Because like what is happening in our country, the concentration is only in the city, in the urban communities. In fact, I am now throwing this challenge to you so that you could as well be of help, so that we can have it decentralized. We have it capturing teenagers from the provinces, not only in the capital city, the seat of power, Because like in Sierra Leone, it's only in the seat of power that they capture the teenagers to bring them to parliament to hear their voice. But what I intend to do, and it's a challenge, it's a little bit challenge, is to access teenagers of the country and the provinces. We are very brilliant teenagers of the provinces. So that is a big challenge, and it requires logistics. It requires, of course, logistics in terms of mobility, in terms of money to take care of them, to bring them over. Identifying them by schools will not be a problem, but to bring them into the capital city, because at least to bring them to parliament where we have our parliament building will be a big challenge. So that's the only challenge.
Thank you so much, sir. I think all the teenagers understood the challenge that you have posed to them. If some of them have any solutions, they can pose it, and we'll be very happy to connect those teenagers to Mr. Alex so that you can work together and find out better solutions for solving problems in Sierra Leone. Thank you so much, Alex, sir, for taking out the time for this session. Before the session comes to an end, do you want to say a closing statement which teenagers across the world will remember that you were a part of the World Teen Parliament, and what did you say here? So over to you for your closing statement.
Yes. The only closing remarks I will give here is that one is a request to you. I hope those recorded questions from the teenager, you provide me the recorded file. I think that will help me a lot. I will share that with my colleagues here. Then I want them to know that the right of a child is very much paramount in this country, particularly that has to do protection for harm. Children have the right to be free from abuse, as I told you, from harmful work, from drugs, sexual abuse, human trafficking, and corporal punishment, and all within the ambit of the United Nations Convention on the Right of a Child. And also, I want to share with you that Sierra Leone has developed and is now before Parliament for enactment the child right bill. Very soon, maybe a few weeks from now, we'll pass that child right. In short, I want to urge all of them. I'm very much impressed to see those kids in secondary school asking salient questions, putting salient questions to me. I'm very much happy about that. They seem to be very knowledgeable. I'm very much impressed with. Yes. Not that our children in this country are clever, of course, but the output they would have heard from those children this afternoon is very much impressive to me. And I hope to share that with our teenagers in this country. And I hope you make me as ambassador in this country to champion teenagers' right in Parliament. Let's try to cascade this kind of thing, this kind of forum, this kind of platform in Sierra Leone. And if possible, in Liberia, our neighbor, and Guinea, using me also as ambassador. I can do that for you. So with that few remarks, I'm very much grateful to all of you for hosting me this afternoon. Thank you very much. Hoping I will be in touch.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for taking out the time and being here and being a part of the World Teen Parliament.